We are joined by Steven Nelson, voice of the Los Angeles Dodgers, today on the Incline Dodgers podcast. We're so excited to have him back. Steven, how does it feel being a World Series champion broadcaster?
Man, well, first of all, Kev, it's great to see you. Appreciate you having me back on. It's been a minute. Secondly, like it's an amazing feeling, but it's a weird one because like I didn't do anything. You know what I mean? I was just sitting in the right chair at the right time. But just being able to watch that run and broadcast those games, something that certainly wasn't on my life or career bingo card. So the fact that it did happen, able to hold on to those memories forever.
So let's flash back to game one of the World Series. You were behind the mic as well, radio broadcast. Freddie Freeman coming up to face Nestor Cortez. When he launches that ball over the right field wall for a walk-off grand slam, you said he channeled his inner Kirk Gibson as you showed a lot of emotion and, like every Dodgers fan, was fired up. What was that moment like for you getting to make that call?
So two sides of the coin here. The first side is, I mean, that was I blacked out. I just blacked out and screamed. That's the emotion that you referenced there was just me yelling. Didn't retain a lot of what I said just because that was something the game had never seen before. Literally, you never seen a walk-off grand slam in a World Series, and for Freddie to do that, having not had an extra base hit the entire postseason, he had a triple earlier in Game One, and then he caps it with the walk-off slam. Knowing everything that Freddie was battling through, like I think everybody was kind of aware, not kind of, everybody was aware of the ankle, but not everybody was aware of all the other ailments he had.
Right.
So just kind of knowing that and everything that he and his family had endured that season, physically and emotionally, for him to have that moment that was so special to watch. And I still, whenever that clip comes across, I just think about, I remember in the immediate aftermath when I finally shut up, just looking around the stadium and seeing how it made everybody else feel. Everybody not wearing pinstripes, that is. And then the video compilations of fans watching at home, like that to me is what really hammers that moment into, like man, it makes all the emotions bubble up. So that's the first side of the coin. The second side of that coin, from a broadcast standpoint, it's like, gosh, a couple things I wish I could have back, but like, it's just like any, like a young player hasn't had certain experience in game situations. Me as a broadcaster, like I hadn't been in that spot before, right? I hadn't done radio since college before last year. And then to be calling World Series games on the radio for the Dodgers, like hadn't been in that spot. And so I'm grateful for that experience because, now hopefully the next time it happens, if it ever happens,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'll be a little bit more prepared.
Yeah, I wanted to praise you on that note of radio because I don't remember if you'd called many games in 23 on the radio, but definitely
Yeah.
that's what I thought. But in 2024, remember hearing you pretty early on the radio, and Jake and I both agreed like you just have a great radio voice, and there's something about the way you deliver the games that worked. You do great on TV, but you can't do every TV game because you got other broadcasters to share that job with. But when you got your call on the mic for the radio, like you crushed it last season.
Well, man, I appreciate you saying that. We'll get your ears checked at a later date, you and Jake. But just text me your Venmo, dude. No, it was such a, obviously like the circumstances weren't great. Like it meant Charlie wasn't well enough to be back, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, um, you know, it was like, oh, it's exciting, but it's like, oh man, but I would much rather Charlie be here. I remember him; he was in the booth before Game One, and it's like that's Charlie's series, right? Grew up in New York, Dodger fan, like worked for the Yankees, worked for the Dodgers, and I remember as
Right.
Charlie, I was like, Charlie, do you want to bring us on the air? do you want to start this thing? And he's like, Steven, be brilliant. And which was a special moment. But like, so now it was definitely a trial by Inferno last year, and thank God for Mo, Rick Monday, and our producer Dwayne McDonald and Bassay, because they were like super encouraging. And Joe was just very like, hey, like, you're gonna struggle with certain things, because like I'm used to doing TV where you can take multiple pitches in a row off if you want. Radio, you cannot do that. That is the worst thing you could do. It's like situation score, because somebody might turn the radio on now and they just missed the things that you had said. So, and there are times, a lot of times last year, where I caught myself, like if I had a stretch where I was doing TV and then I went to radio, like I had some TV habits, or I had a stretch where I was doing radio and went back to TV. It's like, oh, I'm talking way too much. So, again, just trying to learn those balances, and kind of the different ways to be effective on each medium. Again, it was a great experience. And, again, innumerable amount of calls that I wish I could have back or have a do over on. But again, all those kind of growing pains hopefully will pay off down the line.
Yeah, we'll definitely keep it up. Love having you there. Going back to the Freddie Freeman Grand Slam moment and all that. So from my perspective, it felt like there was just a different energy with this Dodgers team.
Yeah, where were you? Where were you when it happened?
Yeah, so I'm going to get to that. So from watching the TV, I feel like maybe in past years there'd be more tension, or that maybe, I don't know, something just different. But this Dodgers team that won the World Series, the tenacity and the confidence and the self-belief, even though there were 2 out and the bases loaded, I felt like something magical was going to happen with Freeman. Not a grand slam. That's ultimate exceeding expectations, but maybe a little bloop base hit or something. It just felt like a calm. So there I am. I had just gotten back from the hospital a few days prior because my wife had given birth to our first daughter. So I was in the hospital for pretty much the duration of the NLCS, but that's a whole different story. So the little one's there. She's a week old or 2 weeks old, whatever it is, on the table, and her bouncer just let out the loudest yell of excitement ever. Thankfully, I didn't wake her up, but everyone else was just like, no one else had any idea what was going on. I'm like yelling, like, he just hit a walk-off grand slam. And that was incredible.
What's her name?
Her name is Everly.
Everly. Oh my gosh, that's beautiful, man. So congratulations. I mean, if they put the Freddie walk-off grand slam, like whatever, man. Like that's your baby girl and your first one. That's really, beyond special. So congrats to you and Mama. Well, really, Mama, you didn't do anything.
No. Yep.
Yeah.
It was a good year, nonetheless. Daughter and the Dodgers winning World Series. Can't complain. So going at the 2024 season in its entirety, we know what your top moment is, I imagine, because we just talked about it. What were some other great moments for you last season?
Okay. I feel like you got to take Shohei moments off the table, right? I wasn't there for 50-50 in Miami, but the 40-40 walk-off slam, I was in the radio booth.
Mm-hmm.
The game-tying home run against Colorado before Mookie's walk-off when they went back-to-back. Show's first walk-off was really special. Shohei versus Skeens in Pittsburgh was epic. So taking like Ohtani off the table, I'll start at the beginning of the year, before the year actually. The Freeway Series exhibitions with EK when Jared Karros was on the mound, and he punched 4 over 2 innings or whatever it was, and like, because I've been next to EK when he's like watching Jared and Kyle on an iPad. So for EK to be in the booth for his son pitching, like, you guys can't understand the amount of stress that this man feels over his. It's like, dude, EK, you got 2 kids in the Pro Bowl, man. Like, that's a job well done. But obviously, he wants them to realize their big league dreams. And so, anyways, that was really special to be there with him for that one. The comeback in Colorado. with Jay Hayes' grand slam and then Teo's ultimately game-winning shot. Oh gosh, I feel like I'm probably missing some obvious ones, but those ones are certainly top of mind. Okay, this is another dark horse one. The series in Queens against the Mets in the regular season. Daniel Hudson got himself into a jam and then he got out of it and shushed the
Mhm.
crowd. That was a cool moment.
Yeah, those are good ones.
I think again if those. Yeah. You tell me give me some of yours and like maybe like in general, and then maybe I'll think of a couple more that I feel like there's one obvious one that I'm missing.
Yeah, I mean, you covered pretty much most of the top ones. A lot of them involve Shohei Ohtani. I mean,
Yeah, right.
that series in New York against the Yankees, you had Yoshinobu Yamamoto pitch the game
Yep,
of his life.
that's a huge one. You're
That
right.
was sensational. Teoscar Hernandez went off in that series as well, and I think people like myself had confidence he was going to have a big World Series because we were thinking back to that series in the regular season against the
Yep.
Yankees. I mean, just that I didn't get to go to any of the games, but you probably got to feel the energy, just the NLDS in general between the Dodgers and the Padres probably was very
Yep.
fierce. What was it like being at Petco Park versus Dodger Stadium? Do you feel like the Padres fans there really brought the energy?
Yeah, no doubt. It was raucous. I'll say this, man. Like I had never experienced. I'd like covered postseason games at Dodger Stadium when I was at MLB Network,
Mm-hmm.
um, but they weren't necessarily like I don't know I think prior to my time with the Dodgers, the last time I was there for a postseason game was Game 5 of the 2019 Division Series against the Nationals, which obviously not great memories for in Dodgerland at all. Um, but I never felt kind of like peak postseason Dodger Stadium energy before last year, and like that was a really cool experience because it's like I've been to Philly, World Series games there. I mean that was wild, and then Petco in the division series, I was like, okay, this is pretty raucous. So then to like have those two, and then see in the World Series Dodger Stadium what it's like at like its apex was awesome. But the division series, man, um, it's to that like you referenced like the how you felt different about this year's club, and throughout the regular season, I think there was a lot of questioning, especially specifically externally, like
Mm-hmm.
outside the clubhouse walls. Like, does this team have enough like fu to it? You know what I mean? Like, does this team have enough fight? Um, like obviously there's talent, and they're having to weather this storm and all the pitching injuries. So yeah, like they're battling, they're gritty, but like when push comes to shove, when all the chips are on the table in the postseason, is this team going to have enough fu?
Right.
And in that division series, down 2-1, you saw it. And then you saw it through the remainder of the postseason. And so that atmosphere against that specific team brought it out of the Dodgers. And so yeah, to your point, like I just think that it was the perfect place and perfect opponent for the Dodgers to kind of exercise the demons of the last 2 years, and really, you can extrapolate that if you want, but especially the
Mm-hmm.
last 2 years, and they did that, and obviously we know the rest was history.
Yeah, and speaking of Game 4 and that comeback, we'll get into 2025 in a couple minutes with the bullpen being even more loaded. But last season,
Mhm.
that bullpen, like I just felt so confident in them. I was telling people I'd rather go a bullpen game than give it to a certain spot starter because I just felt like they had the Dodger dogs in the bullpen, let them ride it out and let them go 3 outs, 5 outs, 6 outs, whatever necessary. And you
Right.
heard it from a lot of the players reflect on the postseason and the season in general They all wanted the ball, and that's the type of attitude you want to see from all your relievers, a collective effort to win these games. So that was really exciting. And then on top of that, this last team versus years past, this is where your credit to Shohei, because without Shohei, I don't know if they win game one, because they come out of the gates down 3-0 instantly.
Yep.
And Shohei Ohtani's second time coming up hits that 3-run home run off Dylan Cease, gets the Dodgers right back in the game.
Yeah.
And that's enough to turn the momentum, and they go on to win that game.
Yeah. So, again, I'll work backwards there. Like, there were multiple times last year where Ohtani's just, he shows, he's ridiculous, man. Like, and I remember I referenced it on one of that Colorado call where it was like Ohtani's inevitable, because whenever he was up, there was that feeling of inevitability, especially down the stretch when there were runners in scoring position, right? You're going to have that run like kind of burned into your memories of how whatever it was, 19 for 21 at a certain point with runners in scoring position. And you think about how it ended for Show, and then how the year started, right? Like the last year really was just kind of a movie, and we'll never, outside of a handful of people, we'll never fully be able to grasp what happened and how it went down in Korea before the season started. But for him to sort of like compartmentalize, like you imagine like what that was like for just any of us mere mortals, right? When you have the person that you feel is your closest confidant and your best friend, do you like that? And then it's going to take you a minute before you could even like take a baby step forward to move on, let alone like, do what Shohei did. So there's that. You talk about the bullpen, man. What made that so remarkable was how organic it was, right? Like, it wasn't forced, and it wasn't from like a weird or manufactured place. It was just like Bazooka being Bazooka, Bruce Dargratterall just like barking one day, and then like all the ridiculous personalities and energies down in that pen, because it really is like, it is a wild collection of guys, right? Like Blake Trinan is unique, Evan Phillips is unique, obviously Honey and Joe Kelly are different, Bruce you just like everybody, and how do all these ingredients mix? Like, this would be a weird smoothie if you were to blend this thing up and try and drink. But it worked, and it was organic, and it was genuine, and it was nasty, and to see them sort of build without ego, and kind of just like grow into this monster of a unit was really something. Like, I think, there probably was a thought. I don't want to guess how much the fan base felt this way, but thought like, oh God, like they've been relied upon so much this season, like they're gonna falter, they're gonna break down eventually, and it never did. No matter who was back there, right? The Johan Ramirez's of the world, Michael Peterson, like it was just like, the most random collection of Baseball Reference pages. But credit to Mark Pryor and Connor McGinnis and Bardo and the bullpen and the staff for letting those dogs eat. And Doc, of course. So he's like, yeah, just real quick, Doc. I mean, that moment with Blake in the World Series, like, I mean, that's doesn't get better than that.
Yep, that was our Incline Awards winner for best Dave Roberts moment, the one you just mentioned.
Yeah, that's right.
So 2025, pretty big expectations, to no one's surprise. Dodgers go out there, get a bunch of talent to add to an already pretty strong team.
Yep.
Kind of to temper expectations. What are you excited about right off the bat, right out of the gate in 2025?
Who's tempering expectations, Kev? You? Come on, man. There's no tempering of expectations with the Dodgers. Being being there those first couple of days of spring training, like this team's tackling that. Like nobody's afraid of it. And what I love about it was the sense that I got from at Camelback was that all the superstars have already flushed last year. Like 2024 is great. You know, it was better, like doing in 2025 and going back to back like that. And so when you have guys who are ticketed to Cooperstown, Ohtani, Freddie, Mookie, when those are the guys kind of leading that charge and being like last year was last year, like let's get better today. You know, or the other two timers, right? Max and Kike, like they want to fill the hand up, right? To steal Mookie's line. So I love that sort of mentality is already there. Expectations are I mean, I don't know if there's a limit on it. There's a ceiling to them because this is, you could argue, it's like the most talented team we've seen. I mean, this century for sure, and you know, perhaps our lifetime, with respect to the, you know, the Yankees dynasties,
Right.
you know, the run that the Braves had, but just in this era of sports and baseball and like roster construction, I mean, this is unheard of and unseen. So there's that. And then within the clubhouse, there's the topic of expectations, like Shohei Ohtani, 50-50, first ever, and now he's going to be pitching again. And so the general thought on the heels of surgery too, right? Multiple surgeries, his pitching arm and then his non-pitching shoulder. The general thought would be, okay, well, he's going to take a step back because the physical, mental, emotional toll it takes on you to do both at the level he's done it. There's no way he gets close to 50-50, right? But if he gets 30, like that's still an epic year. If he gets 25, it's still an epic year. But like, even if he has proven time and again, like he is not human, probably, but like he can't be saddled with expectations because he constantly blows them out of the water. So anyway, all that to say, like the team is embracing that. The fact that there's a ton of external noise and hate and like the Dodgers ruining baseball and all that nonsense that we've heard for the last few months. Ultimately, baseball of all the major sports is one where it's like there is so much volatility and parity, and you got to play the games, and they got to go out there and prove it. And you know, we'll see starting in Tokyo against the Cubs, who are much improved. You know, if they can do that.
Yeah, I agree with that, and no doubt about it. I love the mindset that flush out last year. It's all about 2025 now.
Yeah.
Everyone's there to see the stars, but just because baseball's such a long season, I will be paying attention. I'm excited to see how more of the role players perform this year, like the Tommy Edmonds of the world.
Totally.
Can Dustin May, Tony Gonsolin get back to form? Michael Kopech, does he have another great season out of the bullpen for the Dodgers?
Yep.
Contract year for him? Does he go off and have a nice set himself to have a nice big payday? Michael Conforto coming into the ball club, does he have a big one and done season for the Dodgers? So just names like that. Andy Pajes, can he find himself a role for this ball club at some point this season? Dalton Rushing, does he get called up, become a contributor?
Right.
So it's just like the little things like that that get me dialed in.
You're spot on, man. I mean, just even think about last year. I mean, 40, 41 pitchers. I mean, ultimately to get through the grind of the season, like, you know, we could talk about the starting lineup or the starting rotation on paper right now. We've all seen the graphics. Oh, this is what it looks like on paper. But like, we literally just saw that on paper doesn't mean, you know, anything. And you're going to see some different names at the end of the year than we are right now at the start of the year. And so that's why this kind of behemoth of an organization that this ownership group and front office have built over the last decade, like there is depth on depth on depth. Like guys who would be aces in other rotations or number ones in other teams' farm systems are buried here with the Dodgers. But you're going to have to rely on that and get it done. You referenced Tommy Edman, like he's kind of turned himself into this household name among Dodger fans because of his run through the second half and NLCS MVP. right? Okay, so now who's next? And you rattle off a bunch of names. I'm super biased with Michael Conforto. I have known Mike since he was in college, and I just think that I really think he's gonna be a monster for this team. And talking to him at Camelback, like he's already, talked about the behind the scenes people, how they've tapped into certain things to kind of help unlock him a little bit. So I'm pumped to watch him play. Like I talked to Andy's he is like so focused on kind of eliminating what he perceives as a hole in his swing, which is, upstairs velocity. Even James Outman, right? And Bobby Miller, two guys who entered last year sort of like anointed. Maybe it's like a little over dramatic, but like Bobby was basically anointed as like the next ace of the Los Angeles Dodgers, and that his year started that way, and then he got hurt, and then just never got right in a lot of ways. He is, thankfully, he's doing well after that scary comebacker the other day in Arizona. But man, like he feels and sounds different, more mature this year. James Outman last year, again, it couldn't have gone much worse for him at the major league level on the field. But this year he went and got his swing analyzed, and it was like it wasn't mental or anything like that. It was just a little mechanical tweak, and he feels like that'll really get him back to where he wants to be. So like, all those guys that may have been forgotten about or who are afterthoughts because of the other star power on the roster ultimately have, and you kind of hit on it, is like those are the dudes that are going to propel you through the regular season and hopefully through 11 more wins in October.
Yeah. Really appreciate you coming on, Steven. It was great catching up, getting to chat with you. Do you get to go to Tokyo this season?
Yeah, I'll be there. Figuring out Joe's obviously going to be calling the games against the Cubs. I might probably hop in for the exhibitions, and then do some stuff on the side, kind of maybe highlighting some of the Japanese stories and culture on the regular season broadcast. But definitely I'll be there. I'm again personal bias, but beyond jacked up for that trip. It is going to be a scene. So yeah, no, but yeah, look, if you sure you're all done, you have no more. I love chatting with you, man. So like, you got anything else for me, you hit me. But
oh yeah, we could talk all day. I got some work meetings to jump into, but
and you got a little one to get home to as well, man. So again,
we'll get you on very soon, and we'll chat it up as the season goes on. Always love having you on. I was going to put you on the spot and make you do a Shohei Ohtani home run call, but I feel like that's too much pressure. So
my dog's sleeping right now. I can't wake him up. So next we'll rain check that part.
Yes, what I was thinking. Steven, wishing you the best for 2025. We'll talk very soon when we get some official Dodger baseball games in the book, and we'll recap your experience going to Tokyo and get your behind the scenes perspective. Can't wait.
Can't wait either, man. Thanks, Kev.
Thank you, Steven. Good catching up.
You too, man.